John Maxwell was pastoring. It's your first time you ever pastored. Now, I've been pastor for a while. I've been pastor for a while. At least we know at this point. We don't know. Okay, back then, you sort of think that you want to know what you're doing. You've gone to seminary or something like this, and there is this level of, you want to think you're in charge and all that kind of stuff. John Maxwell went through a humbling process. It was after about a couple of years there. And he preached it was a message, I think, basically on pride and stuff like this. And he says, I preach this message, but it's for me as much as anybody else, for sure. And he went to the altar, and he knelt down. He asked the people to gather around. They laid hands on him. This one elderly lady laid her hand on him and said, Lord, thank you for revealing to John what we already knew.
And his eyes just kind of... But the idea behind that was that we already knew this, but he didn't know that they knew and they still loved him.
That's right.
There's something powerful about that statement that he knew he was loved, yet they knew the layers of whatever that was there, that he was bravado, that were in the way. It was a powerful prayer.
It was truth.
Oh, it was true. It was true. Some of the soft-spoken women didn't say much a lot of times, but some of those, when they do open their mouth, woo, it's a zinger, comes right in there. We all have this in common. We lie because we're afraid of losing something.
Yeah.
Losing our face, losing approval.
Losing friends.
We're afraid of being seen. We're afraid of losing a friend. If I would really tell them the truth, it's going to put some rift. And the problem then with that is that maybe we need to face the fact that we really don't have good friends. If we can tell them, if we can't tell them the real truth, not our opinions, not just our perceptions,
Right.
but if we can't tell each other the truth, what level of friendship do we have? We need to face that truth, right?
Right.
Because if we're really going to be committed to truth-telling, we need to be committed to the relationship more than just these things that we say to one another.
Amen.
If the relationship is long-term, truth works. But if the relationship is so transient, I have to ask myself, because I've had people tell me, Ron, what do you see here? And I said, I'm not sure if you really want to hear what I have to say. I don't know if our relationship is secure. And I don't think it's going to work. You guys say that? It's a little heavy, isn't it? Okay. So what do your lies say about you? This is a big deal.
Trust issue.
I was going to say that too. Are you
It all
trustworthy?
comes back to that, doesn't it? Do we really believe that telling the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, is a given, and we must do that? Are we convinced? The only way that we're going to convince to that is that God's really God, because He said it. I don't know about you. I don't understand everything. I don't understand God. If I go that direction, I'll get mad at Him.
If I go to the direction of, I gotta understand you, God, I gotta understand what's
Yeah.
going on. I'm gonna get mad at God eventually. It does. This all goes back to a trust issue. So what do? You shade the truth? That's one. With pieces we leave out. That's not being true, is it?
No.
How about minimize? We minimize it. Oh, that didn't really matter. Oh, by the way, this happened, but that doesn't matter. And somehow we slip something in there. We minimize it. The end justifies the means, so it's all okay. You exaggerate. Any drama people out here? And then when people start, just really talking about it, I said, it's good to get it out. Keep going. Let's keep going. I think you're upset. Is that right? I detect that. Well, you're upset. And you need to touch it, evidently. And that's okay. Why are you so afraid? And what are you so afraid of? What are you trying to avoid? What are you hiding from? These are all, that's why we lie.
Sorry.
That's why we don't want to hear truth.
Sorry.
Ron,
Yes.
can I add one to that?
Excuse me?
Can I add one to that? Can you balance the truth? Because truth by itself can be very hurtful. I think you balance the truth when you broke down. Cried because it was love. You were concerned, and that person latched on to the love behind the truth. These other ones, they don't have love behind the truth. They have something else, an ulterior motive of sorts, not maybe intentional, but there's still a motive behind that. And if you balance it with a love, if you have a balance, you don't have those motives. Or at least they're more innocent or something, or, I'm where you're at too.
The one thing, just to bridge on what you're saying there is that the problem sometimes is that we're more in love with what we say than the people that we're saying it to. We have to say, why am I saying this? Is it to help them? Am I saying this to help them? Or am I saying this to let them know I'm right and they're wrong? It's got to be, the truth works well in the hands of a surgeon. It's a scalpel. The Word of God says the Word of God is sharper than any two-edged sword. It's a scalpel. And the Word is great in the hands of a gentle, wise surgeon. That the only reason, like Mike, this week you're going to get cut, right? Something.
Ouch.
Something's going to happen. Isn't that right, Mike? You're going to have some surgery. You're going to, what? Is it okay? Gallbladder surgery. Okay, he's going to get cut. It's going to happen. But it's within the context of overall healing. It's in the context of, that's the reason why. And then it works. You're absolutely. Go back to it different times in 1 Corinthians 13, in the lists of love is patient, love is kind. In that list, it says love rejoices in the truth. To me, this is the teeth of love. The teeth of love is truth. If we really love someone, why would we withhold the truth from them? When we don't tell the truth is because we don't, on some level, believe the truth. If we don't tell the truth, that means we're believing some other truth. And we believe that one. That's why we speak that, and that's why we live that. Jesus came to the earth to tell the truth. Ultimately, he came to earth to tell the truth about you and I. He did this through his life, his death, and his resurrection. Love is a powerful way of removing the mask we all insist on wearing. And the idea behind that is that how can we tell the truth? I've worked with enough couples. They really want to go on. But you know what? When I share with you, honey, the truth about what's going on in my life, or if I'm honest about my feelings, which they're my feelings, but this is what's truly going on inside of me, you get upset. Why would someone want to talk openly if the other person gets upset about it? If it's within a context of love. Love invites you to truly get unraveled, to face the truth about ourselves, about life. And that's what Jesus did. While you were yet still sinners, Christ died for us. Isn't that right? We didn't. Well, I'll get more involved in the church when I get cleaned up. Or I'll get more involved when I get my life in better order. It never can work. God has a powerful way. Put God in there. God is love, right?
Right.
God has a powerful way of removing the mask we all insist on wearing. He comes to us with his arms open and he hugs us.
Right.
And it's within that loving embrace that he speaks to us the truth.
Amen.
And then we can take it. If he just speaks the truth and there's not love there, it's hard. Or if he just embraces us, and it was Leo Buscaglia in one of his books. He's not on the earth anymore. He said, the one condition of unconditional love is that you love the person so much that you tell them the truth. He says that's the one condition of unconditional love. Always like that. Alex Rodriguez, familiar with him, baseball player, New York Yankees. He just retired this last year, and he had a lot of things surrounding him that he was taking steroids and all sorts of things, right? And the day that it finally came out and he admitted it, this is what he said. He said, it feels so good coming out and being completely honest. You take this gorilla, this monkey off your back, and you realize that honesty is the only way. The truth needed to come out a long time ago, and I'm glad it's coming out today. How many know the 12 steps? The 12 steps of AA. What's step number 1? Admit, it's more than just admit they have a problem. That's going down the right direction. Admit that what? You're powerless over your dependencies or alcohol, whatever your problem is. How many here just, oh, that's such a warm fuzzy. I want to admit that I'm powerless over my sin. Now, we know in our head we're powerless over sin. If you could deal with sin and overcome it, we don't need Jesus, right? It's refreshing to admit you're powerless over it. You mean nothing's wrong with me? You mean this is the way I'm supposed to be? You mean I'm okay? You mean I'm trying to be somebody else because I don't want to be powerless. I want to be powerful. I want to have some control. How many like control? It's the opposite of powerless.
As long as I'm the only one doing it. In
But-
reality.
But if you plan to get over yourself on the base level, it's admitting we're powerless over our sin, whatever that is, that dependency, that, as it says in Hebrews, the sin that easily besets you, the thing that you know by God's grace you'll be dealing with the rest of your life. Because someday you think on this earth you'll be done with it. No, God has assigned that thing to you as He gave to Paul in 2 Corinthians 12. That thing that will humble him, where God will say, my grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in what? Weakness. My power is made perfect when you finally admit you're weak and powerless. That's when I can come in, right? But there's something freeing to finally admit that you don't have to have it together. And there's a God that knows this and loves you right smack in the lowest place of your life. That's the beauty of our God.
Amen.
That's the beauty of the gospel. So how do we keep the ninth commandment? Admit who you really are, with and without Jesus. Admit who you are, that you're powerless. Admit it on a deep level, not just intellectually. Yeah, I understand. I'm a sinner. I need saved. But you know what? Just because you crossed the line and accepted Christ don't mean you still don't have that other nature in you pulling you around. We understand this, right? How many know you have tendencies? Think about people you know. They have tendencies. We are all bent in certain directions. How many know this? You have certain ways that you bend and you naturally gravitate towards. Or as Larry Crabb says, all of us have a lower room and an upper room. And how many know that if your lower room talks to your neighbor's lower room, it ain't working? How many know that you come out of the upper room with Jesus and you meet someone in the lower room? And sometimes it doesn't work good because all of a sudden we go to the lower room and say, what's wrong with you? Wait a minute. But who are we? Admit who you are without Jesus. And don't forget it. Don't forget where you came from. All of us are surprisingly similar. So the question is, how do we keep this mindful? Admit who you really are on the deepest levels. And that's hard in this context. Just admit who you are. Let's go. Next one. Wait a minute. There needs to be pause in here. Go back to that last song. Just between you and me, God. Do the just between you and me, God thing. Say, Lord, tell me who I am. tell you who I am with you. Wow. Both of these are true. As the Shulamite woman in the Song of Solomon. She said to herself, I'm dark, but I'm lovely. These two sides. I'm dark, but I'm lovely. All of us have a dark side, the lower room. And we have a lovely side, the upper room. She says, I'm dark and lovely. Just let that unravel you. We all have this, don't we? That's the truth. So where's the safe place that we can be who we are authentically? Do we have those? If we don't have those, we are wearing a mask 24/7. We are but performing from sun up to sundown, hoping that whatever we do is going to make me feel good enough. And that's a hard life. I mean, the churches should be a place, as long ago someone told me, it needs to be a hospital for sinners, not a rest home for saints.
Right.
A place that we can truly be honest, and we can encourage, embrace, and walk with each other. For truth and love. Next, accept the truth in your heart. In Psalm 51, David says in that beautiful passage where it was after Nathan came to him and says, you're the man, where he admitted, I have sinned. He says, Lord, it is you that desires truth in the inmost place. That's where truth begins. Truth doesn't begin out there. Truth begins in the heart. Accept the truth in your heart. Kick out the lies. Commit to telling yourself the truth, to listening to the truth, and then to believing the truth. This is a process, friend. Okay, that's it. All right, next. No. We got to pause. This takes time. We can't do this here. This is time-consuming, real life stuff, which is hard. Sometimes I call people up, I call you all here, and I just kind of just walk in your life and I just say, hey, what do you think about this? What's going on here? And I just sort of take people through some of these things sometimes. You know what's happening here? You know what's going on? How do you think about it? What do you feel about this? What do you think, Glenda?
Yes, we do it weekly.
Yeah. I just start talking. And some of you here, some of us here, are at different points of this. But we've got to go here. Tell the truth to your neighbor through the power of the pause. Okay, first of all, this is that question, how do we keep the commandment? Admit who you really are, with and without Jesus. Accept the truth in your heart, kick out the lies, commit to telling yourself the truth, and listen to the truth. Okay, so first of all, we got to look at ourselves. If we're gonna get into the truth. It's got to be, it's got to come here first. And then it goes out to tell the truth to your neighbor through the power of the pause. The spirit behind the ninth commandment is love, not punishment. So when you're telling the truth to people, it's loving, it's not punishment. Pause before you speak truth to your neighbor and check yourself. Am I speaking this truth to love them, to help them, or to punish them and to hurt them? We've got to pause. There may be something on our tongue that we want to say. Before you say, call a timeout. Call a holy timeout. God, I want to say this to him. Why do I want to say this to him? Lord, is it out of a heart of love that I really want to speak this? Or is it because I want to hurt them, or I want to say something to them, or I'm upset about something, or do I want to punish them for something? Why do I want to say this? Take a holy moment and pause. Next, pause in the face of gossip. It's always good to pause. Timeouts. You got unlimited timeouts in Jesus' game. In this game of life, so to speak, you got unlimited timeouts. You don't have 3 per whatever, 3 a day and you're done. You can take as many pauses, because what did it say? What does it say in the Bible? Jesus oftentimes went away to a lonely place and prayed. Oftentimes he went to this lonely place and prayed. That's what he was doing. He was taking these holy pauses. He was taking these timeouts so that he would get focused. At a potential gossip moment, pause and ask yourself, would I say this about so-and-so if he or she were standing right here? And would I be open to hearing their response and listening to their perspective? Interesting. It was many years ago, I was at I traveled on the road for 5 years. If you have to travel and live and work, I mean, staying in hotel rooms, travel, live, work, eat with the same people for 5 years. How'd you like to do that with the people you work with? But anyway. How many know that it's possible you probably won't get along with everybody? Here we were in a van together. Different people would come in and out. Not everybody would stay for, I don't know, some people might stay for 5, 6 months, some people might stay for years. But here was a newer person that came in. He was a bass player. We were in the van together, and all of a sudden, people shut the door, and then people were talking, gossiping about somebody else in one of the other vans. And this guy said, time out. How can you start talking about people like that? He says, what do you guys talk about when I'm not around? And then he started looking at the people who were doing it. So what do you say about me when I'm not around? What do you say about me when I'm not around? I'll tell you what. That place was, boop! It shut it all down. I'll never forget that. He called it out in the moment, but he didn't have a bad attitude. He said, this is terrible. How can we do this? What are you guys talking about? Man, I'm not around. What do you do? Boy, it was powerful. Pause. At a potential gossip moment. When do we get potential gossip moments? Just live. It'll come up. Every day, multiple times, almost at any time.
Every conversation.
That's exactly right. The potential gossip moment is there.
I remember something that you said several years ago that has stuck with me for a very long time. If somebody came to me and started saying things about other people, and I remember what you said, because I know people went to you about me, and you said, oh, we must not know who she really is. We need to get to know her. And that spoke volumes to me.
I want to tell, like I said before, like I said last week, the way I look at each person here is through what I personally know and personal experience.
Sure.
It's not other people at times want to talk to me about other people. And my approach then is, do you want counsel? And how to approach, I'll give you counsel on how to approach them. And then I just pray right there, Lord, sounds like they have a problem with so-and-so, and I think they need to either deal with itself. Do you want counsel about this? Or do you just want to vent? If you just want to vent, I don't say this to people, but do I look like a dumpster? Don't throw up on me.
Right.
Why would you treat me like that? People throw up on their spouses all the time. You don't need to take that.